Trump is ramping up military presence in D.C., all based on his own made-up crime stats. A quick fact check. Violent crime in D.C. dropped 26% over the last year. That is according to the police. Trump also wants to control the narrative when it comes to his lagging economy. Trump tapped a partisan hack to serve as Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner. His pick is now suggesting he could just get rid of monthly job reports. Trump fired the previous commissioner, falsely claiming she rigged those job reports. Trump wants to distort history, too. Historians now sounding the alarm over a White House effort to review Smithsonian exhibits. Joining us now, Daniel Koh, White House Deputy Cabinet Secretary during the Biden administration and former Chief of Staff at the Labor Department. He hosts the People's Cabinet podcast. And Christina Greer, Associate Professor of Political Science at Fordham University. She is the author of How to Build a Democracy, from Fannie Lou Hamer and Barbara Jordan to Stacey Abrams.
You know, this is right out of 1984, and I ain't talking about the year some of y'all was born. Okay? I'm talking about the novel by George Orwell. In 1984, there's a Ministry of Truth, okay? And the Ministry of Truth is the government's propaganda and historical revisionism hub, if you will. It is one of 4 ministries that control the fictional country in the book. And I bring this up to say that the specific task of the Ministry of Truth is to rectify the past. So that means they rewrite old newspapers, they edit old records, they destroy original documents so that the history always matches the party's current narrative. Because, you know, in the book, the whole theme is that they who control the past control the present, and those who control the present control the future. That is what Donald Trump is doing right here, right now, with all of those through lines that Alicia just laid forward.
Absolutely. But we also have, I mean, it's swift and it's dangerous, but we also have to remember this is a long through line of what this country has always done. Hence, I wrote a book about Fannie Lou Hamer, and people don't know who she is, right? And she's one of the greatest American patriots they're in. So for Black Americans, we are well aware of the erasure of our history, the deliberate attempts to make sure that we don't exist in school books and in sort of the larger narrative. What's happening right now, for everyone to see, is a lot more insidious and it's a lot more dangerous than what sort of has been the du jour of what America has done to Black Americans for so long, is because this president is feeling desperate. He's feeling backed into a corner. And we now have a president who has absolutely no shame. So what he's doing is that he's going with his feckless sycophants who are in the Republican Party right now, who are abdicating their own power to suit the needs of the president. I always thought that we would be okay because if we read Federalist 51 and we've got checks and balances, we've got the separation of powers. I always thought the framers put in enough Easter eggs in the Constitution and how we've laid out the government that no one man can do these things so swiftly. But I did not account for the fact that the courts would abdicate their power, that they would sort of talk about legislation and say, well, just for this one time only, and then it's not a precedent. I did not ever think that we would say Congress mandated in Article 1 of the Constitution that says Congress has power of the purse, where they would just say, oh, no, you can have the money. You figure out what you want to do with things. This is a train that we are all on together collectively, and we will only get off until certain people snap out of it and recognize that this man has an agenda. His orbit has an agenda.
The part of why we're not snapping out of it, though, makes me, Professor, want to go literary book report as well. Because there's a great writer by the name of Neil Postman, and he has a different theory. Because 1984 is a very justifiable case to make as to what book we're living in. But his theory is this is actually a little Aldous Huxley. This is a Brave New World. So why is it Brave New World stuff? It's because in that book, if I can consult my own book report, in that book, I believe the whole notion is there's just so much bull bleep. There's just a torrent, a waterfall of information. And Dan, what I'm worried about here is, like, why are the mechanisms of accountability not functioning? Part of it's because we're living in an age when there are a zillion things happening and we just can't process it. We're overwhelmed as much as we are facing censorship.
Because Donald Trump is turning up the dial with the proverbial frogs in the boiling water. That's exactly what's happening. And this is all about control. That's the through line, right? First, he went for the press. Then he went for universities, free thought. Then he went for the outside law firms. Then he went for the DOJ people who are career officials. He went after the federal workforce who could push back. Now he's going after the cities, right? This is a continuous flow for Donald Trump, and he's trying to eliminate resistance so that when he continues to push his agenda, there'll be nobody left to push back. That's his end game.
I think we've referenced some of the would-be guardrails, right? Congress should be a guardrail. The judiciary should be a guardrail. One of the questions we have asked throughout this is, like, where's the business community? Why are leaders of business, of tech, not standing up and saying we have a 5-alarm fire? This was very interesting to me from the Wall Street Journal's editorial board about the person who Donald Trump has chosen to put in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Few people trust China's economic data because they know the government serves the interest of the ruling Communist Party. Mr. Antony will have to take off his MAGA hat if he wants to ensure that the public and markets can trust Bureau of Labor Statistics data. If all of a sudden business leaders, finance guys start saying, like, well, the data's not good, and I don't know how we're going to make our decisions, does that change anything?
Well, they won't, because they're also bending to this president. I used to oversee the Bureau of Labor Statistics at the Department of Labor. And
That was always a sexy job.
a very, very sexy job.
It's coming in handy now.
Well, here's the reality. There was other private sector proxies for jobs every month, and oftentimes they were completely wrong. ADP comes out with their own statistics about a week or two before the Bureau of Labor Statistics does. Oftentimes people wait to see whether the government data matches that to make their decisions. Trillions of dollars are based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics data every month. But here's the problem. These tech CEOs see trillions of dollars on the line because Trump says he's going to regulate woke AI, right? And so if that's happening, they are not going to make any moves to make Donald Trump happy, because their millions of dollars of large language model development and all of that stuff are all up in the balance.
You know, I did ask ChatGPT today. I said, I did ask ChatGPT. The president of Nvidia told me to ask ChatGPT.
You've been using a lot of
all my
M
questions.
dashes rhetorically
you
today.
know,
I'm like,
I asked him. I asked about, are there any parallels between what Donald Trump is doing with the Smithsonian and the Bureau of Labor Statistics and what happened throughout history, or maybe in 1984? And you know what ChatGPT said? Oh, well, I can't answer that. I can't speculate on Donald Trump's thoughts. And I had to tell ChatGPT it's happening right now. So I think the point about woke AI is taken. Alicia Rev from the Wall Street Journal, I just want to know, why on earth would he take his MAGA hat off? He got the job because he's wearing a MAGA hat. And I think that this insatiable need, everyone from the editorial boards like the Wall Street Journal to the business community to even, you know, like well-meaning people in my neighborhood, this insatiable need to believe that because somebody has the title, that they will all of a sudden act as though they're supposed to act. We're dealing with political hacks here.